All right, everyone, we might be ready to rock and roll. Welcome everybody to the last council meeting of 2025. So I welcome you all here, and if we can please stand for acknowledgement of country. The City of Victa Harbour acknowledges the Ramangeri and the Narrangeri people, the traditional custodians of the land and surrounding waters where we live and work. We acknowledge their deep connection to country, and we pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. This respect is extended to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island people across Australia. Before we move on to the diversity commitment, I would like to formally give our condolences. So our condolences go out to the Jewish community in Victa Harbour and around Australia. Anti-Semitism and hate do not have a place in Australian culture. The City of Victa Harbour have placed flowers at the base of our peace pole on Moreland Reserve to pay our respects to those who have lost their lives or who were injured yesterday, and to thank the first responders for their assistance. Please remember to be kind to one another and to show that Australian society shows love where there is hate, kindness when there is pain, and unity when there is division. And the City of Victa Harbour follows that. May we support one another and ensure that love and humanity always prevail over hate. Thank you. Councillor Schiller, you want to do the diversity commitment?
The City of Victa Harbour is committed to diversity, equity and inclusion. We respect people of all ages, abilities, religions, cultures, backgrounds and beliefs.
Thank you. Councillor Burns, you wanted to do the service acknowledgement.
Thank you, Mayor. We recognise the brave individuals who have served and continue to serve our nation. We remember those who lost their lives and paid the ultimate sacrifice to our country.
Thank you. Just wait for Councillor Quaremba to come back. Councillor Mann, would you like to say the prayer?
Almighty God, we ask you to bless this council and allow it to be an agent of change to the people of this city and beyond. Direct and prosper its deliberations to the honouring of your name and the welfare of the people whom it serves. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please be seated. There are no apologies that I've received, and everyone's here, which is fabulous for the last council of the year. We do have an item that is sitting on the table that was adjourned last time regarding the Victa Harbour Horse Tram Authority annual report and financial statements. That motion before council was moved by Councillor Henderson and seconded by Stewart Burns. Given that we've had a few weeks previously, I'll allow both of you to speak on that again if you want to. And the recommendation was that council approve an amendment to the Tram Authority Audit Committee terms of reference, enabling the CEO to appoint an appropriately skilled staff member to the committee on a non-voting position to support the oversight of its financial position. Did you want to speak to that again, Councillor Henderson? No? Councillor Burns, did you want to speak to that again?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm supportive of this. I think that it's important to provide that financial resource for them, and I think it will only assist them in being able to get out of their current situation.
Thank you. Does anybody else want to speak to this? In that case, I'll put it to the floor. All those in favour? Those against? Sorry, can we do that again? All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you. 4.2 was also adjourned. That's the addition to fees and charges, the sale of Kerbside bin latches. That was moved by Councillor McKenzie and seconded by Councillor Henderson. As with the previous motion, both Councillor McKenzie and Councillor Henderson may speak to this if they want to again. And the motion was that council endorse the addition of Kerbside bin latches to the 25-26 fees and charges waste reduction equipment schedule to be sold at a fee of $10 inclusive. Do either of you want to speak to that again? Councillor Mackenzie, Councillor Henderson?
We had a good presentation at our briefing session, so I'm happy with
We
this.
certainly did. Thank you. Does anybody want to speak to this? Councillor Burns?
Just one question. If this is endorsed by the chamber, when would they be available for purchase?
I will ask Mark might know.
The intention would be from the waste facilities, but also from council at the front counter. So
When would that be, Mark?
when? Oh, as soon as we can get them. So
Okay.
yeah, tomorrow, hopefully.
Thank you.
It's approved, sorry.
Councillor Kemp?
I'm not quite sure if this is should be tabled, this one, because according to Councillor Quinton, when he moved his formal motion, it was adjourned to the January meeting, not the December meeting. So I don't know why we're doing it.
Well, we had the workshop prior to this meeting, so we're able to bring it closer.
No, you can't. No, sorry, it's me. I disagree with you. I think there's a formal motion that stands and it has to become to the January meeting.
The intent of the formal motion was the January meeting to allow administration to prepare costings for the provision of a bin latch free of charge to all properties across the council area. I believe that was discussed at the workshop that we have had, so that the intent of that motion has been carried out. And I believe that it can come to the meeting now. We have all the elected members here. We have no further information that needs to be gathered. And so there is no point in it going to the January meeting when we can answer that now. Councillor Quaremba?
Just a question, Mayor. I understand where Councillor Kemp's coming from. It may be the intent, but it's not how the motion is written. So maybe if there was an amendment to the motion, then that could happen. But intent and what is written as a motion are two different things. So if the intent was just to have it to a briefing session, then we should have called it to today's session if you already had the briefing about it. Otherwise, it should stand as January council meeting.
I will seek some governance advice on this, but I am of the opinion that given that the intent was to allow administration to prepare costings and all of that information was given to the elected members, that we have a full quota of elected members here tonight, that there is no reason why it can't go to vote, but I will seek some clarification on that.
Through the Mayor. The Mayor's correct. I mean, the intent was to provide additional information. I actually, at the meeting when Councillor Quinton moved the motion, he was looking to a subsequent meeting or December, the next meeting. And I reference will probably maybe January or subsequent because I wasn't sure whether we would have time to hold the workshop. If there's a specific reason why members do not want to decide about it tonight and you wanted to come to the January, someone can defer that and move it on to January. It's really up to the chamber. The council's one in control of it. I was just bringing back information because it was available. You had the workshop and the costings were available to bring back the report.
Councillor Kemp and Councillor Quaremba, if you want to defer this until the January meeting, you can move that way, and it can be up to the council. If not, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you. We now move to 5.1, which is minutes of the previous meeting, and the recommendation is that those minutes be confirmed as true and accurate. If someone would like to move that way. Thank you, Councillor Henderson, and seconding Councillor Mackenzie. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you. We don't have any deputations. I did have a request for a deputation by Mr. Klimpson. I thanked him for his email regarding a second deputation in relation to benefits of having a second dog park in Victa Harbour. And I refused that as the matter had already been presented to council members beforehand. And so I am reporting that decision to this meeting today. Questions from the gallery. I have two questions from the gallery from Councillor Peter Charles and Councillor, sorry, not Councillor Peter Charles, Mr. Peter Charles, I should say, from Council Watch. And I'll just outline, Mr. Charles, that the questions that you are asking, which relate to Councillor Henderson's leave, I believe that they have been asked a number of times previously. And I've asked the administration to let me know how many times these questions have been asked. So Councillor Burns on the 10th of October and again on the 20th of October asked the questions. Council Watch, Terry Andrews on the 7th of October. Council Watch, Terry Andrews on the 13th of October. Council Watch, which included in the 3rd of December newsletter, which was circulated on the 2nd and the 4th of December. Peter Charles on the 17th of October. Peter Charles questions from the gallery on the 6th of December. And again, Peter Charles from Council Watch now regarding the leave that Councillor Henderson had and the interpretation of section 54(1)(d) of the Local Government Act. And these questions being asked again and again, maybe in different words, but around the same insinuations, are starting to look like bullying towards Councillor Henderson, and I will not be taking any other questions in relation to this matter again. But you can ask your questions now, Councillor Mr. Charles.
Thank you, Mayor Jenkins. I guess what we're seeking for is an answer to the questions. For example, respectfully, this question does not seek legal advice. It's a statutory authority that's relied upon. We're just interested in knowing what section of the Act this situation has been adjudged on, what we're relying on. Okay, the question 1 is the legislative authority. Section 54(1)(d), as you said, of the Local Government Act 1999 requires leave of the council, that is, leave granted by resolution of the elected members. The question is, please identify any statutory provision in the Local Government Act that confers legal authority upon the council's meeting procedures to redefine leave of the council as notification to the CEO. If such a statutory authority exists, please cite the section. That's what we're after. What are you relying on?
Leave of the council means a member intending to miss 3 consecutive ordinary council meetings. Council's Code of Practice for meeting procedures does not redefine leave of the council. Rather, it outlines the process for submitting apologies and requesting leave. Under this code, the council has delegated responsibility to the CEO. Section 54(1)(d), which you refer to, of the Local Government Act, does not operate automatically. The section provides that a councillor may be removed, and I say may be removed from office, by resolution of the council if they are absent without leave of the council from 3 or more consecutive ordinary meetings. The Act does not prescribe how leave of the council is to be requested or approved. Section 86(8) of the Local Government Act provides that subject to the Act, the procedures to be observed at a meeting of a council is to be prescribed by regulation and where not prescribed as determined by council. As neither the Act nor the regulations prescribe the process for granting leave of the council has lawfully established its own procedure through the City of Victa Harbour Code of Practice for meeting procedures. This Code of Practice is a council-adopted instrument established under the authority of the Act. The Code sets out the process by which apologies and leave of absences are to be provided and recorded. It does not amend or override the Act, but provides the procedural mechanism by which council gives the effect of its responsibilities under the Act.
Still didn't come down to where the statutory gives the council the opportunity to change under meeting procedures.
Would you like me to? Would you like me to?
I think it'd be sufficient when you put it in the minutes of the meeting and
So
print them.
the answer to you will be in the minutes of the meeting.
That's right.
As I have
And my questions, which was good. Thank you very much. So we'll be able to take it from there. Question 2. Now, this is assuming that, of course, you're incorrect. Question 2, ultra vires risk management. Where a council that participates without lawfully granted leave, decisions made may later be determined to be ultra vires. That means illegal or beyond the power of the council. Section 62, 99 and 273 impose duties and consequences in such circumstances. The question is, please advise what risk mitigation steps have been taken to ensure councillors are not exposed to potential liability if a latter determination finds that the councillor was not lawfully entitled to participate.
Mr. Charles, council members must submit apologies or requests a leave of absence in line with the council's adopted code of practice for meeting procedures. This ensures compliance with statutory and procedural requirements. A leave of absence alone does not disqualify a council member. A vacancy only occurs if the council member formally resolves removal under section 54(1)(d). When members follow both the Act and the Code of Practice for Meeting Procedures, their participation is lawful and decisions made at council meetings are not ultra vires. Thank you.
It's festive season, so you might be charitable and just let me say another one or two things.
No, Mr. Charles, sorry,
no,
Mr. Charles.
Please don't cut me off.
Mr. Charles, you've had your questions. Thank you very much. These questions have been answered many times before.
I'm not going to leave here until I just say these few words.
Well, I'll ask you to be, if you will not speak over me, please, and I will have you removed if you're going to. Mr. Charles.
When did the council delegate? What council meeting?
Mr. Charles, that is enough.
When did the delegation go to the CEO?
Mr. Charles, that is enough. Could you please leave the chamber?
I won't leave the chamber. You can't push me out of the chamber. I can let the seat sit back there.
I can ask you to leave the chamber.
The South Australian Police Department.
I can ask you to leave the chamber.
Remove me.
When a member of the public who is present shall not behave in a disorderly manner or cause an interruption. So if you are interrupting the meeting, which you are now doing and not paying attention to me, I can ask you to leave the chamber.
As you normally do.
That is constant interjection when the presiding member is speaking. Thank you. We will now move on to item 9.1, which is outstanding resolutions. The first recommendation, or the recommendation, is that council receive and note the outstanding resolutions report for December. If someone would like to move that way, Councillor Kemp moving that way and Councillor Schofield seconding that. Thank you very much. Are there any questions in relation to the outstanding resolutions? Councillor Kemp.
Thank you. Just a clarification to the CEO. I had a motion on notice there about undertaking a traffic management study of the City of Victa Harbour. That's been removed from this current document. So just hasn't been resolved as far as I know. We've spoken about a traffic strategy and a traffic stuff coming, but I don't believe we've actually done the traffic management study for the whole town.
Through the Mayor, I just have to refresh my memory. When was that motion on notice moved?
Would have been a good 9 months, 12 months ago.
Okay. If it's come off there, I apologise. I will review and check that it hasn't. Thank you.
Are there any further questions, Councillor Burns?
Thank you, Mayor. It was just a question to the CEO, if I may. Resolution OC 3092025. On the second page of resolution still to be finalised, it was just a question. In a recent edition of the Advertiser, a government spokesman said that they, or claimed they had given money to the horse and tram via vouchers. And I thought the vouchers were only for accommodation and meals. Could you find out from the horse and tram if they have received any vouchers at all? I'm not aware the people have used vouchers for anything like that, but I mean, you may have an answer to it. I was just interested if people were using vouchers for that. I didn't think they could, but I could be wrong.
Through the Mayor, thank you for your question. Yes, I am aware that the horse tram did qualify for experience vouchers, and they have had some bookings under that program.
Are there any further questions in relation to the outstanding resolutions? No, in that case, I'll put it to the floor. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you. The Fleurieu Aquatic Centre Joint Venture Quarterly Report. The recommendation is that Council receive and note the report. Would someone like to move that way? Councillor Kemp, thank you, and Councillor Henderson. Do you want to speak to that, Councillor Kemp? Councillor Henderson? Does anybody want Stewart Burns?
Thank you, Mayor. It was just a question. It may have been provided. I couldn't find it. So if I can be directed to where it exists, then apology for my question. On page 31 was an energy feasibility study. I was just wondering what the cost, if that was identified, what was proposed. Now, it may be that that has already come here. I couldn't find it, but I may have been looking in the wrong area.
The energy feasibility study, as in what the study actually cost, or the outcomes of the study were? There was a variety of recommendations in regards to solar, thermal energy, other machinery or equipment in regards to pump systems, and we're going through that report at the moment, looking at those potential utilisation of the recommendations that have come out of that audit. So that is currently underway at the moment.
Okay, so once it sort of gets finalised by the committee,
it will need to come back through the councils, because it would probably have an impact of what capital investment or changes would need to be made. And if it wasn't within the current provisions that are already provided, then it would need to come back to council. Any changes to that facility have to come back to the constituent councils for approval.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Schofield.
I'd just like to say this is a really good report outlining some of the strategies, but I would also like to congratulate Natalie Bruce, who's awarded an infant and preschools aquatic teacher of the year for 2025. I think that's a fantastic achievement, and we're very lucky to have somebody of her calibre at our swimming pool.
Thank you, Councillor Schofield. Would you like us to write a letter of congratulations to her? Yep. Is everybody in agreement with that? Yep. Can you follow that up? Thank you. If there's no further discussion in relation to 9.2, I'll put it to the floor. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you. 9.3 is the Community Satisfaction Survey, the update report, and the recommendation is that Council receive and note the survey. If someone would like to move that way. Thank you, Councillor Schofield. And seconding that, please, Councillor Mann. Do either of you want to speak to that? Councillor Schofield?
I'll just comment again about the amount of information in this. It was I called it a really good read, and I can see that we're heading in the right direction.
Thank you. Councillor Mann.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Jenkins. Yeah, I think particularly worthwhile to note, considering everything we're doing at the moment and also other things coming up in the agenda, is in the report as well, where it says in all surveys, the community's major concern has been around Victa Harbour's growth and ensuring that we have the appropriate infrastructure and facilities to support this growth. And I think that's very much echoes everything I've been hearing in the community as well.
Absolutely. Any other discussion in relation to the Community Satisfaction Survey report? If not, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you. 9.4 is the mobile food vendors permit policy and guidelines, which have been reviewed, and the recommendation, which is in 4 parts, Would somebody like to move that? Thank you, Councillor Mann, and seconding Councillor Henderson. Do you want to speak to that, Councillor
Yeah,
Mann?
just if I can ask a question, because I might need to make a slight amendment in terms of what I'm moving there. I note that in the for the Kent Reserve map, where the highlighted sections are, I'm not sure whether that's been updated or needs updating. Understand that there's the red square on where a disability car park now is, and there's a red square or there's not a red square where there should be, being on the seaside closest to where I think that there's been a food vendor operating, where that little seating section is on the beach side there as well. So I'm not sure if we need an amendment to the motion for that, or whether you can just change that.
We can change that?
Yeah, if you can change that. Yeah, do you know where I'm sort of referring to put that red square in? It's just on the other side of the road. I think it's the first park near where that little half circle is. It's where they've been using it for a number of months or weeks now, but I think we just need to make sure that's reflected in this document. But yeah, I'm happy to move it as is if you can make that amendment. Thanks.
Thank you. I'll just see whether or not Councillor Henderson wants to speak first. No? Yeah, thank you, Councillor Quinton.
It's just a quick question. I read in the outlines that the vendors are responsible for their own waste and taking their own litter away, and they're not to put any material in the council bins. Does that normally work from experience previously, that you don't end up getting a lot of excess waste in the council bins?
Most cases they actually abide, because if they don't, we will go out there and visit them, because we can usually tell. Yeah, they're pretty good normally.
Any further questions, comments? No, I'll put that to the vote then. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you. 9.5 is the reviewed crossover and crossing place policy. And once again, that recommendation is in 4 parts, which we'll do together. Would someone like to move that way? Councillor Schiller? And do I have it? And Councillor Henderson? Do you want to speak to that, Councillor Schiller? No, Councillor Henderson?
I think it's good that we've had a review. We need to review these policies from time to time because they become out of date. And this current review will bring everything into line with the PDI Act.
Thank you. Councillor Burns?
Thank you, Mayor. I was going to say something similar. Given that it's been last reviewed in June 2018, I think it's good that the reviews occurred and the amendments and policy all read well, so it's not a problem.
Any further discussion? No, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you. 9.6 is the Arts and Culture Advisory Group, and that's in 3 parts, which I'll do together. So does someone want to move that? Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Do I have a seconder for that, please? Councillor Schofield? Do you want to speak to that, Councillor Henderson?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, the first point A, to appoint Tyler Chappell. Tyler has been a co-opted member of the advisory group and is a very worthwhile member to have on board. A budding artist in his own field, and it will be good to have him on the team. And we've had a couple of members who've had to walk away because most of the people on this advisory group are artists in their own right, and sometimes they need to concentrate on their work. And so we've come up with these vacancies as a result, but we do need to fill the vacancies to have a good sized working group.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Councillor Schofield, did you want to speak to this? No? Does anybody want to speak to it? No? I'll put that to the floor then. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Future Ready Strategy, Engagement Plan and Discussion Paper, Councillor Mann.
Yeah, I'm happy to move them on block, but I've got some amendments to the suggested recommendations for number 2 and 5, or we can do them separately. I'm easy.
It might be easier to do them separately so people are familiar with your
that's fine.
With your changes.
I can start with number 1 then.
Yep. So you're moving number 1. Seconding, do I have a second for number 1? Councillor Schofield. That's receiving and noting the engagement plan. Do you want to speak? Anyone want to speak to that? No. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Can you read out number 2 as you've amended it?
Yeah, thank you. So I'll read it in conjunction with the full recommendation. That Council approve the proposed content for the Future Ready discussion paper as provided attachment 2 for the purposes of commencing the first phase of community and stakeholder engagement in accordance with the Future Ready engagement strategy, subject to the following amendments. A, any reference to the Future Ready strategy be amended to the South Coast Future Ready strategy. B, include demographic statistics for the South Coast, including the average age in 2050 if the current trends continue. C, at a broad level, stress the lack of planning powers and influence that councils now have to shape their communities and protect against unplanned rapid growth and the need for councils to explore innovative approaches. D, include background around the number of over 50 style retirement villages that have been announced / being constructed in the coming years. E, under the housing affordability and diversity section, include as types of actions to consider, in quotations, purchase and/or encumbering land to take back planning influence and control and to limit further over 50 style retirement villages from being built in the coming years. And F, amend the stakeholder mapping to I, increase Alexandrina Council's level of interest in the project from medium to high, and II, under ministers and MPs, add Finniss candidates for the 2026 South Australian state election, level of engagement, in quotations, inform.
Thank you. And you've got all of that down there, Chelsea. Thank you very much. So does somebody want to second that amended motion? Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Do you want to speak to it? No, does anybody want to speak to it?
If I could, Mayor.
Councillor Mann, would you like to speak to it first? And then I'll come back to you, Councillor Quaremba.
Thank you. Looking at expanding this scope in terms of just being a Victa Harbour Future Ready strategy to looking at a South Coast perspective from Victa to Goolwa and everything in between is because a lot of the challenges that we're identifying and that we're going to need this strategy to address aren't just related to Victa Harbour, they're across the whole South Coast. You know, we've been going on about how Victa's average age is 60 and the problems that creates, but I looked up at Goolwa's the other day and it's 67. And so those problems are going to be there for all of us. I know that councils are the only ones that really live and die by these random lines on a map that the state government's created. And I know government also loves to ask the community what their problem is and then say it's not our jurisdiction, speak to this council, speak to that state government department. But you know, the lives of our community members are intrinsically connected and lived across the entire South Coast. We can't look and plan for our future if we're planning in a silo. And I guess the challenges we face will be faced by Port Elliot, Middleton and Goolwa as well. And there's no point in us working so hard to try and limit some of the growth of the over 50s retirement village style accommodation if they can have several new 4 to 6 story ones built in Port Elliot, Goolwa or Middleton, because they're still going to need the doctors in Victa Harbour and the hospital and add additional strain to what is already a very strained health service. It's not about preventing or stopping retirement villages from ever happening. It's about identifying how many does our community need to be sustainable and find a level of demographic sustainability. Victa will always attract that market and the market will keep trying to deliver them. You know, we've had 4 new ones announced just in the last few years, which will add around 1,700 new units only for that older demographic who are in heavy need of health and care facilities. And as a community, we want to be able to provide that for everyone. But if we don't start trying to limit some of the growth or control it, which is exactly what our community has been telling us time and time again, then we won't be able to find a balance and things will get much worse, much quicker. You know, the other thing is really trying to stress in here is how our planning powers and influences have been stripped away completely, but the community still thinks council has planning power and influence in matters. You know, give an example of this is how for years and years under our old planning system, we protected the view coming down beautiful Kleiny Kleinig's Hill when you looked out over the coast. And then the state government changed the law, removed all our bylaws and protections, and within a few years we had multi-storey buildings there and reducing that view in half. We need to be looking at, thank you, innovative approaches, and I think the Future Ready strategy does that a lot, but I think working with our fellow Alexandrina Council and planning for the region is the best way we can go about it.
Thank you, Councillor Mann. Councillor Henderson, did you want to speak? No. Councillor Quaremba.
Thank you, Mayor. It's a fine line between intervention and trying to push things in a certain direction. I'm really concerned about the word encumbering land. Question is, for Councillor Mann, are you talking about encumbering private land that is for sale? Is that the intent of this part, section E?
If I can answer through the Mayor. You'll note that in our UGMS, it already has an action of looking to investigating encumbering land. And part of that may be, I envisage, working with landholders or farmers and in that development area saying, hey, what would the cost be potentially if you were willing to add an encumbrance onto your land to maybe protect some of that growth in the future, or to give council a bit of influence? And there may be people in the community that wouldn't be interested, but there may be some that would say, yep, we would be interested in negotiating with council to look at adding on an encumbrance to maybe limit a retirement village being added without the approval of the community or the council. So it's looking at creative ways, because the consultants we paid a lot of money for to do the urban growth management strategy said the only way we can get back control is to either purchase or encumber land. It's already in our consulted strategy, which has gone out to the community 3, 4, 5 times. This is, I guess, tying it into this discussion and alerting the community that one of our documents is saying about it. Here's something to consider. And then they might come back as part of this exercise saying, no, we're not interested in that, or we don't think council should be doing that, and that's fine. Or they might say, okay, maybe that's needed. So I guess I hope that addresses your question, but it's not, in my view, us randomly chucking on encumbrances on private land. I'm not sure if we'd even have the power to do that without the landholder's consent. Well,
if that's the case, I'd like to see that wording changed, and you can have encumbering land with this expressive agreement of the landholder.
I'm happy to amend that.
Are you happy for that to be amended, Councillor Henderson? Any further discussion? Councillor Schiller?
There's 3 main areas I have a little bit of concern about. The basically spreading our statistics into other council areas for consistency when we're taking these strategies out, and we are Victa Harbour ratepayers that are paying for this strategy. So that bit, every other component other than the fact that you are taking statistics outside of our council area is my concern. The other concern is your comment about us having like limits on developers coming in wanting to bring in residential villages. I'd like to see that softened somehow, the wording to that. And I also agree with the commentary that Carlos has given us about how much power we can dictate over the land. So I don't know how to soften those comments and what the view of people is around stretching our statistics outside of our council area. Every other component of the amendments I feel comfortable with.
Fine.
Thank you, Councillor Schiller.
If I could add, sorry, just I think under E, because it might have been, there was an earlier draft which I sort of had passed on, but instead of to prevent further, the wording I read out was to limit further over 50 style retirement villages from being built in the coming years. So
to substitute prevent with limit?
To limit. So it's
would that help you, Councillor?
Or maybe to limit the rapid construction of over 50s. So it's more talking about the short to medium term, where we've got 4 new ones that are yet to be built, already in the books, already signed up, already coming. we're not seeing the result of those yet, but it's in this next period of time we will. And there may be a time when we're at capacity and we need more, but it's...
Thank you. Are you happy if that's substituted with the limit?
Oops, at this point in time, we're going out to public engagement, or basically I'm happy, but when we get back to the point where we actually endorse it, well, I think that's when the time will be appropriate to look at that wording, I think.
Okay.
I still would like to get whether it's a bit difficult, but an opinion on when we have a Victa Harbour specific strategy and we start to branch out to statistics in another council area, whether any administration have any comment to that.
Yeah. I might just comment on that, Councillor Schiller. Often if you work and collaboratively with another council and work regionally, you have a lot more lobbying power with the state government. And if they've got similar problems with that than we do, then it may mean that working together, we're able to push a little bit harder in relation to that. Whether or not in the strategy we can actually separate Victa Harbour, and so you can see the Victa Harbour statistics and then also see those statistics combined with the South Coast statistics might be one way of addressing it.
If that's a possibility, that might be worth doing.
Yep, that's been noted by administration. Thank you. You've spoken, Councillor Quaremba. You've got a question, and your question is?
Has there been any discussion or notes made about potentially also trying to seek greater engagement for those businesses that are going to be required to accommodate all the over 50s lifestyle villages that are coming? Because I know this seems to be about trying to reduce the amount of over 50s because we're going to be lacking in the counterbalance of resources and businesses. Has there actually been any discussion spoken about how we can increase that side of the ledger as part of this strategy?
I'm not aware of that as yet. This is going out to community consultation, so that may happen during community consultation. Are there any further questions? Councillor Kemp.
A question first, if I may. Has any, in writing the strategy up and looking at, have we spoken to Alexandria Council yet to find out if they want to be included in our strategy?
Through the Mayor, no, I haven't at this stage. They're aware that we're doing it. I know they've been taking note, but I've not had any direct discussions with their CEO.
Thank you. I understand where Councillor Mann is coming from, but personally myself, I prefer the original recommendation too. I think we need to be totally focused for Victa Harbour. That's what we're here for, to look after our community. And certainly I can understand why you want to include other areas in that, but where do you stop? And I think we need to focus on getting the stats for our community so we can then have a good strategy and look a way forward. I do have concerns that council is looking at trying to limit who comes and lives in our community. I just feel that is wrong. And that sends a wrong message about this council and this community if we look at limiting who comes here. If you start targeting a certain age group, again, then I'm not quite sure if that's really a good look for the city of Victa Harbour. And when you define the word South Coast, well, the South Coast stretches from Cape Jervis to Limestone Coast and everything in between. So I think we've got to be very careful when we use terminology and get it exactly right. So I think I won't be supporting this one.
Thank you. Have another question, Councillor Quaremba.
Thank you. Just something that Councillor Kemp triggered me. Has anybody thought about potentially that this strategy may be seen as ageist? Has that been gone against has that come across anybody's radar that potentially this may be seen as an ageist type strategy?
I can't answer for everybody, Councillor.
Maybe I might ask Councillor Mann if that's all right.
You ask through me, and Councillor Mann may like to answer that when he gives his wrap up at the end. Are there any further questions? Councillor Burns.
Thank you, Mayor. Having listened to the discussions here, and I may have misunderstood Councillor Mann, but I took his intention as more not limiting totally, but more a lockstep arrangement, that we only do what we have capacity. As the capacity goes, you can take on more, rather than you have selective overdevelopment and underdevelopment in different areas, like what happened with Mount Martha. That's how I was reading it. May not necessarily have been worded correctly, but I think there's an opportunity to expand when it comes back from public consultation. That's how I took the intent of what you, if I've got it right. Yep.
Thank you. If there's no further discussion, I'll hand back to Councillor Mann to wrap it up. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Jenkins. And thank you to all the elected members for a fantastic contribution and addition. I think Councillor Burns, you completely got it right there. It's looking at even our urban growth management strategies for 25 years. This is for, even in the document, 10, 20-year period, and it's looking at what do we want in this next period, what's coming, and it's looking at how do we achieve a balanced demographic. Okay, it's all of our community plans, our UGMS, all of our key strategic documents say we need to look at lowering our average age and our demographic. And I think one of the things, and I appreciate Councillor Quaremba's point, because it's around, yes, councils have, it's very new territory for councils to be doing things to attract and retain young people. It's very new territory for council to be looking at these housing development and looking at what kind of development we want to see in our town. And I think it's around how we frame the narrative and frame the discussion, because a lot of it is, I know a lot of the people who voted for me, it was the elder demographic. It's the people, as a wills and estates lawyer, it's a lot of the elder demographic that I see day in, day out, and the concerns that I hear around, they're scared of the rapid growth. They're scared of not being able to get in to see a GP. They're scared about hospital strain and all of those things. And even though it's not trying to target or prevent them from retiring down here, it's saying, we want you to be able to retire down here and be able to access the services to provide for you and to provide that lifestyle. No one wants to live in Victa Harbour and to have to drive to Adelaide for every single thing. And I think that's the thing we can universally get behind. And effectively, what we've heard from our consultants, administration, the community is, if we're going to provide the services to meet our ageing demographic, we need to be attracting and retaining a younger demographic, and we need to be doing that through specific targeted strategies, actions and policies to deliver that. You know, one of a commentator I heard said, in the future, one of the richest and most sought after commodities will be young people, because in an elderly population, everyone will be wanting to try and attract and retain young people to their area to provide the jobs, to provide the growth and stimulate the economy. And we're seeing the front foot of it because we are Australia's second oldest population. And so we're starting ahead of everyone to try and do a bit of catch up, but also we can try and future-proof and protect our community, because we need to be looking regionally. We can't afford to continue looking in a silo with our blinkers on when our communities don't live their life thinking, I live in Victa Harbour, so I won't, go to the Port Elliot Baker, or I won't go surfing at Middleton, or I won't take that job in Gore. Everyone lives across the entire South Coast. By doing a South Coast policy, it provides the councils an opportunity to come together and say, hey, these are the things we need to identify. What if the land's cheaper out in Gore, so we work on, affordable housing developments out in Gore, and then we provide the businesses and stimulation in Gore, in Victa as a CBD. We've got everything we need on the South Coast. We just need to be working together to meet these different objectives and to plan for the future. So that's the intention behind it. It's with a good heart, and I appreciate it can be interpreted in different ways, but it's really how we unite the South Coast to work towards a more positive future for everyone.
Thank you, Councillor Mann. I'm now sorry, the debate's been closed. I don't think you can after the debate has been closed. Yeah, I'm sorry. So I'll put that to the vote, and that's recommendation 2. That has been amended by Councillor Mann. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you.
Division, please.
All those in favour, please stand. Councillor Mann, Councillor Mackenzie, Councillor Burns, Councillor Quaremba, Councillor Schiller, Councillor Quinton, Councillor Schofield and Councillor Henderson. Against, Councillor Kemp. I'll do recommendation 3 and 4 together, because I think it's recommendation 5. You had another amendment for Councillor Mann. So would someone like to move recommendation 3 and 4 as read. Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Seconding Councillor Mackenzie. Do you want to speak to that, Councillor Henderson? Councillor Mackenzie? Does anybody want to speak to recommendations 3 and 4? All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you. Councillor Mann, do you want to move your amended recommendation 5?
Yeah, thank you. I'll read that in context. 5, the council, following feedback from the Victa Harbour Future Ready Stakeholder Reference Group, revised the membership of the group as proposed within the updated guidelines at attachment 3, subject to the following amendments. A, under section 5, quotations member, the Chief Executive Officer of the Alexandrina Council also be added, and the following sentence be included, in quotations, additional members can be appointed through agreement by the Mayor and Chief Executive Officer of the City of Victa Harbour as needed without requiring council endorsement.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Mackenzie. Councillor Mann, would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, thank you. So quite simply, again, if we're wanting to engage with Alexandrina Council and look at this regionally, I think it's very important we have their Chief Executive Officer as part of that group, which has our senior staff. It has all the principals of the local schools, business community. We've added RDA. We've added the University Hub. It's a incredible group with elected members, the Mayor as well, and I think it's important to have the CEO on there. In terms of we've had to come back to council to be able to add additional people on. I think this is a moving beast and it's growing and changing. I've been having some correspondence with senior heads at Flinders University after meeting with them at the schoolies operation when they were down there, and invited them to also see whether they want to be interested in waiting to hear back. So there may be cases where we get tertiary educators, other people that want to be a part of this as we go out for consultation. So I think just allowing the freedom to have them added on there and not have to wait a month to go back, noting this is all trying to happen in a pretty quick period of time.
Thank you. A question for you, Councillor Mann. Do you envisage that the working group there may be times where the membership swells and then decreases, different people come and different people go depending on what it's working on?
The working group, there shouldn't be too many meetings of it. It's more around coming back. As I understand it, I think they'll meet back together when we get the feedback from the consultation, maybe when there's a draft platform and providing a bit of preliminary views. There's a lot of fantastic stuff we heard from the principals at the last one at the local schools. So I don't think it'll be needed for so long, but I think we're trying to hit as many, objectives with it, and to bring those groups of people together for this, but then also for the actions that come later. I think it's better having everyone on the ground together from the start, because it would just increase their investment in what we do try and deliver and the actionable after.
Thank you. Councillor Mackenzie, did you want to speak to this?
I'm in support of this. It makes sense to have the CEO of Alexandrina Council come on board, and also open up the membership to the additional people that might be required who reach different spheres of life that we haven't even tapped into yet. So I think it could be a very important tool to definitely make this project effective.
Thank you. Councillor Quaremba. Then Councillor Schiller.
My only concern is you end up with a cast of thousands, and some of these people are from outside the area that potentially may have different objectives to what is in the best interests of Victa Harbour. I would still like to see it come back to the chamber just so that we can have some level of oversight, because before you know it, there's less people from Victa Harbour in this decision-making or direction process that you've got, and the community will start asking questions, why we've got so many people from outside of Victa making decisions about Victa's future. So I would actually still like to see it come back to the chamber, and you can have a special council meeting if wanted to acknowledge these people. It's a simple vote, but I think it also keeps a level of openness with the community about who we're bringing into the mix.
Thank you. Councillor Schiller.
I also agree with Carlos. I think it's good for the chamber to know who's on the committee at times. I think you could have guests, people coming in, giving you comments, but the actual committee itself. So this recommendation, I support everything except the last component, which is that the interchange of members can be decided without us knowing. I really do think it's good for us as elected members to know when those changes occur. So I would support most of the recommendation except for the interchange of members without the elected members knowing.
Thank you, Councillor Schiller. Councillor Mann, I'll let you respond when at the end.
Oh, well, if I may, I'm happy with the leave of the seconder as well to drop off II. It's more of just a practical benefit. They're just a reference group. Everything still comes back to the council anyway, but happy to take that on board and get rid of that.
Okay. You happy for that, Councillor Mackenzie? All right. So the motion is now just that the Chief Executive Officer of the Alexandrina Council is also added. Any further discussion? No. Do you want to close the debate? No. I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you. So that's all of those, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's all 5 recommendations. So we now move.
Sorry, Mayor, just a quick question. If Councillor Quaremba's motion later on in this meeting is approved, I just wanted to say I'm happy to nominate for this committee as replacement with the approval of the chamber. It obviously has to go up for a vote, but I just thought it's such an important group that you need to still have a number of elected members on it. If he's successful, he'll come off that group.
Well, if you bring it up, I'll have a think about it and talk to the CE whether or not we do it now or whether or not we do it at the next meeting. There's no urgency.
That's fine.
There's no urgency, and they're not meeting between now and the next meeting, so it might be worthwhile doing it then.
Sure.
So we move now to 10.2. The expression of interest guidelines for the Victa Cinema tenancy, and the recommendation is that Council adopt the guidelines for expression of interest process for the activation of the tenancies within the Victa Cinema. Do I have someone to move that way? Thank you, Councillor Schofield, and seconding Councillor Burns. Do you want to speak to that, Councillor Schofield? Councillor Burns?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. It was a good document and it made sense, so I'm supporting it.
Any further discussion? Councillor Schiller?
Oops. I read the report and was quite happy to see that if someone with a concept which is of community benefit, that we can renegotiate the commercial tenancy monthly lease payments. So I think that's a great thing to have in that particular recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Schiller. I'm glad that you brought that up because I know there's been discussions in the community about, whether council can assist with activation for new businesses and innovation in the community, which also goes towards Councillor Mann's strategy of trying to get more younger people down here. And so if we have spaces where council has some say over the rent and the commercialisation of those spaces, where younger people and people with ideas about innovation and re-energising the space can go, that would be of great benefit to the community as well. Is there any further discussion? I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you. We have the New Aged Care Act here, and so it's important that the council receive and note the report on the New Aged Care Act. Thank you very much, Councillor Henderson, moving that way and seconding that, please. Thank you, Councillor Schofield. Do either of you want to speak to that?
The implementation of this act has been a long time coming, but it's good to see at last what the changes are and have them outlined.
Thank you. Councillor Schofield? No, I have a question for administration in relation to this. I know that a couple of other councils have had workshops for their elected members on how the the new provisions of the Aged Care Act impact on their responsibility as elected members, with the council actually carrying out aged care programs under that act. And the question I've got is that, is there any plans for elected members to have workshops or professional development in relation to our obligations under the Aged Care Act?
So we've had, through the Mayor, we've had some discussions about that in regards to with Leanne, who is actually here tonight. And it's obviously, it will have an impact, and we will be looking at what that impact is to our council, given the services and how we deliver our services. Unlike some of the other councils who actually have retirement villages, is very different. They've got some direct impacts right now they're having to address, whereas it's a little bit more subtle, and we're just starting to identify what they are, working with the LGA, and we would look to do some information updates with members once we know a little bit more.
Thank you very much, because I'm just cognizant that if we have direct responsibility in relation to any of those changes to the Aged Care Act, it's important that we're aware of our responsibilities. Did you want to say something, Councillor Henderson?
Yes, I know that one of the changes is that in my role as chairing one of the committees that covers some of the aged care provision that we provide, I and other members in council or across all councils will now be listed as responsible persons, and will have to have the relevant checks, police checks that go with that. Yep. So that's one of the big changes as far as elected members are concerned.
Great, thank you very much for that. We now move on to item 10.4, the Disability Access and Inclusion Plan, and this is around the communication and engagement plan. The recommendation is that Council approve the draft engagement plan for public consultation, and that's on attachment 1 that I'll take and you've all read. Would someone like to move that way? Thank you, Councillor Schiller, seconding Councillor Quinton. Do either of you want to speak to that? Councillor Schiller?
Just a note that to make sure that when we get the actual date plan that goes out, to make sure that we've got our accessibility on that particular document up to scratch, and I'm assuming Leanne's in the room. So because I think one of the documents that came to me wasn't accessible, but the one that has come to me this evening is. It's great to see the easy read version has been put in there this time round, and councils will find that in the future they'll have more and more easy read documents come through. And I hope that the comms team do promote this well, because the actual DAPE itself has been prescribed very heavily by state government, but by having good engagement with our community, we may well be able to get our annual actions being a bit more focused on our local community and our grassroots people within our community.
Thank you, Councillor Schiller. And yes, Leanne is sitting at the back and was nodding furiously as she spoke. So she's got that all. Councillor Quinton, did you want to speak to this? No. Does anybody else want to speak to it? In that case, all those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you. We now look at, I don't know whose phone is on, but can you please turn it off? Thank you, Mr. Charles. We now look at 12.1, the Bluff boat ramp parking and pontoon extension. I'm happy to do this recommendation on block. If you're happy to, Councillor Burns, you happy to move that way? Thank you. And do I have a seconder for that, please? Thank you, Councillor Schofield. Did you want to speak to that, Councillor Burns? No, it had been discussed at the voting committee as well, and they were very supportive of it. So it makes sense. So. It does. Thank you very much. Councillor Schofield? No. Does anybody else want to speak to this? No. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. And a big thank you to our voting committee for looking at this. That's why we have advisory committees, and they're doing a good job. There's minutes of the council committee meetings. So we're looking at 13.1, the CEO Performance Review Committee minutes, and the recommendation is receiving and noting those minutes if someone would like to move that way. Thank you, Councillor Mackenzie. Seconding Councillor Mann. Are there any questions about those minutes? All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you. Subsidiaries and representative reports. We have the Victa Harbour Horse Tram Authority request for financial support. I'll take that recommendation as read. And would you like to move that, Councillor Mann?
I've got an amendment to that to go underneath.
Yep, sure.
That's all right. So it's just
to amend that or to add to that?
Just to add to it, add to the recommendation by administration, if that's okay.
Yep.
So it's still the existing one as worded, but below it, I've got, and that the City of Victa Harbour, 1, in recognition of the continued support provided by our community for a 130-year-old South Australian icon, provide 1 free horse tram ticket and 1 free behind-the-scenes experience per property in Victa Harbour upon being provided with a copy of the property's council rates notice to be used within a period of 1 year and administered in such manner as the Horse Tram Authority sees fit.
Can I just interrupt you for 1 second? Because these are each one is quite different, rather than do all of that recommendation on block, what I might do is do the first part that council's written and then do your number 1 and then number 2 and then number 3 and 4 on block.
If I can.
Because it may be with those on block that you're talking about, if I add that to the recommendation and have that as a whole recommendation, I'm concerned that the council, the elected members as a whole, may not like one of them or 2 of them.
Yeah.
And so you'll lose the whole recommendation.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
If we do that on block,
well, I'm happy to
separate them out.
Separate between what the administration had as recommendation, and then I'll put my 4 together as 1 separate one, if that's all right.
Can we put your 4 together as 4 separate ones or 3 separate ones?
It's probably easier just to put it all together as 1.
You want to risk that?
Or I can move them separately afterwards, I guess.
It's up to you, but you can continue reading them out. And
yeah, no, that's right. Or I'm happy to just move the first block by themselves if you'd prefer, and then I can move my second block by itself after.
All right. So we'll just go with the first recommendation. You've got a question, Councillor Quaremba?
I do. Can we have all of Councillor Mann's recommendations up there, even though we're not going to vote them, because they may actually infringe on the first 3? So I'd like to see everything that we're going to be voting on regarding this whole motion, please.
Yep, sure.
I can read them out.
Keep
Thank
reading
you.
them out.
So number 2 was keep negotiating and advocating with the Government of South Australia to find positive creative solutions to help ensure the long-term financial sustainability of the horse tram and reduce the financial burden the South Australian asset places on our local residents. 3, as a gesture of goodwill, a future foal or horse be named Mally. And number 4, provide the Chief Executive Officer with the discretion as to when the Save Us State Government signage, as endorsed at the October Council meeting, is deployed in the lead up to the state election. However, if no funding, assistance or benefit from the state government is received or guaranteed as a result of our negotiations and advocacy by the 16th of February 2026, then the signage be deployed as soon as practicable after that date.
Thank you. So I'm going to do that first recommendation first, Councillor Mann, which is the recommendation by council.
So I think we got to do the finance. Yeah, the recommendation. Yeah, sorry, I'm with you.
Okay. So the first one is that council, having participated in the workshop, waives the rent and corporate overhead charges for 25-26, totalling 112,800, provides a cash contribution of 170,000 to the authority, and updates the City of Victa Harbour operating budget accordingly. So I'm going to do that one first. Do I have someone to move? Well, you're moving that one, Councillor Mann. Seconding that, Councillor Henderson. Do you want to speak to that one, Councillor Mann?
I'd love to. Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, so there's been a lot of work with the council meeting with the board, the audit committee, to really look at what the challenges have been with the horse tram over this period of time. I think what has really come up and shown is that it's been a number of factors, a lot of them outside of the control of the authority, but not just the algal bloom, though that has been a significant impact on the horse tram. I think we've heard the state government in the Advertiser article say how it's the council's responsibility to deal with this, and I guess it's sometimes it's our responsibility just to do roads, rates and rubbish, and sometimes it's our responsibility to run a horse-drawn tram across to the ocean to an island. And I think that in this instance, our community and what we've seen from a lot of the public feedback from our community around the state is that they love this asset. They want to see it protected. And I think we can't afford to wait for those negotiations with the state government, even though I'm hopeful, and I know there's a meeting happening on Thursday to further discuss them. But I think we need to give our community certainty that we want to protect this asset because it provides a significant financial contribution to our businesses. I think the report done previously was a $2 million annual contribution to the economy locally. And I think that's why we need to, in this instance, provide that additional funding. The Horse Trauma Authority provided extensive background and detailing at our last meeting, and have gone away and, as I understand it, have had a great meeting together on the previous Monday to look at what mitigation factors they can do for further algal bloom, what other steps they can take. And I think it's really got the council, the horse-drawn tram, the audit committee, everyone on the same page so we can progress towards protecting this asset into the future. And I think this contribution is needed, but the long-term financial viability of the horse tram needs some state government input. I think what the whole community around the state is saying is that this is a state asset. It's something that it shouldn't just be on the residents of Victa Harbour to look after. But I think as part of that is, and I've talked with Nigel Catt in the recommendations I'm putting up, but also looking at how we promote this. And if the community and the people of South Australia want to get behind it, we need to call on them to help out, because this is when we're needing that support. The behind the scenes experience is incredible, and I think that more we can get people to it, the more we can help sustain the horse tram financially, the better. But I'm of the view that we need to be supporting this while still sweetening the carrot and sharpening the stick and trying to get that funding from state government as well.
Councillor Henderson, do you want to speak to this?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. There's no doubt that the Victa Harbour horse tram is an icon, and that goes without saying. It's recognised around the world as such. But in spite of having a very good board with business heads and very good business plans in place, they've faced a number of challenges, as already stated, outside of their control. We had the safety issues with the old causeway, then delays whilst the new causeway was being built, and then we had COVID. And just when they're recovering and getting back on track, we have the algal bloom, all beyond the control of the Horse Tram Authority and the board. In spite of that, they're battling on and still making themselves seen. They're still there with their business case. As Councillor Mann has said, the behind-the-scenes experience was starting to build up, very popular, very good income source, enjoyed by everyone who has experienced it. But we're still being challenged with low visitor numbers because of the perceived algal bloom. So I think we just need to keep on supporting them until they really get this going.
Thank you. Any Councillor Quaremba?
Firstly, a question. What is the amount raised as the differentials for businesses?
Thank you, through the Mayor. So it's a percentage above the base rate, and it's approximately around 300,000 to 400,000 off the top of my head in terms of the gap between what the properties would have paid as a residential compared to industrial or commercial rates.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to make an amendment to the motion, if I may, please.
Sure.
I'd just like to add in D, that half of the differential rate raised out of the businesses be used to offset the money that we're going to contribute or potentially contribute to the horse tram, seeing as it's been argued that they bring a business benefit to the community.
I'll just ask Kelly to respond to that.
Thank you, through the Mayor. That is possible to do that. What it will do, though, is mean that the other items that have been identified to be funded from those differentials will need to be funded from general revenue. So you will essentially need an additional $200,000 increase to the budget either way.
Thank you.
Just a question then, can we defer this until we can actually see what all those items are that we are raising or using with a differential rate, then decide what is more important out of that money we're spending? If the horse tram is so important, then maybe we need to cut back on some other things. I don't agree with raising.
Are you adding something to this, or are you deferring it? I'm not quite
I'd like to defer that. I'd like to defer it until such time.
So adjourn debate. Yeah, so you're moving a formal motion to adjourn the debate.
Yes.
Do I have a seconder for that? All those in favour? Those against? That's lost, thank you. So we're continuing on with, does anybody else want to speak? Councillor Schofield and then Councillor Kemp and then Councillor Burns.
I just have a question within this. So we are A and B, that we give a financial contribution to the Victa Harbour Horse Tram Authority of 170, or the waiving of the fees. Is this 1 year or is this an ongoing?
Kelly?
Through the Mayor, so this is for 1 year at this stage. So we're looking at the rent and corporate overhead charges just for 25-26, as well as a one-off contribution of 170,000 at this point. That's what they've requested and we've recommended.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Kemp?
I'd like to move an amendment, please.
And your amendment is?
At the end of line B, where it's got the word and, I'd like that removed, and the word or to replace that. So the motion would be waiving the rent and the corporate overhead charges for a total of, sorry, my mistake is it's sentence A and then replace it with or, not B. I do apologise to the chamber for that. So the waiving the rent and corporate overhead charges for 25-26 totalling 112,800, or provide a cash contribution of 170,000 to the authority. The reason why I'm doing this is because that was the original motion that was presented to council previously. It's the recommendation of the board that came to council previously, and when you look at the total commitment by council, if this motion gets up totally without the amendment, is 647,800 that council would contribute to the authority. And we're coming into a summer season, which is their best season, peak season for the tram to operate. So I would imagine they would have made some money over the Christmas and school holiday period. So I'm not quite sure we need to give them the full amount, but maybe some of it. And again, in the last paragraph on page 239, just before the risk assessment, it says it is recommended that council provide a requested cash contribution of 170,000 and waive the charges for corporate overheads and rent for 2025-6 to assist the authority to recover from financial challenges of the past several years and position it to meet its strategic objectives. Now, I didn't realise that we're having major problems with the horse tram for several years now. I thought it was only this year or last year. So I'm not quite sure what the statement meant, but I think we should just give them money and support them, but let them work hard as they said they would do over the summer season when it's their peak period.
So you're just clarifying, you're wanting to change that word and on part A to or. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Quaremba, thank you. All those in favour of that amendment? Those against? Sorry, that is lost. We're back to the original recommendation. Councillor Burns, you wanted to speak.
Thank you, Mayor. I was not disagreeing with what Councillor Quaremba had said, and even Councillor Kemp. My only concern is, out of the November workshop we have with elected members, if they don't get the funding, and they've asked for both, and Councillor Kemp is correct that their motion was an or, not an and, but they've said that if they don't get the money or both, they may not be able to continue operating. And my concern is, if we defer it till January, it could have a financial impact that they may not be able to recover from. I think they need the money now.
I'm not sure that we're looking at deferring it at all.
No, but I'm saying if there was the motion to defer.
Yeah, that was lost.
No, but that's why I couldn't agree with it. I was just saying that was my rationale.
You have a question, Councillor Quaremba.
I do. This is a question for the CEO. Is this somewhat of a superfluous motion, considering that as a section 42? Is that right? Regardless of whether we give them the money or not, council has to pay. So I'm trying to understand, if we don't authorise this, does that mean the horse tram shuts down, or we would still have to give them the money to operate, being a section 42?
Through the Mayor, to answer your roundabout question, the 42, yes, council ultimately is responsible. It is council's subsidiary. It is council has set it up in this way, so it has some level of arm's length, but the arm is still attached. So ultimately, you, if it became into financial difficulty, it would come back upon the council.
It's the follow-up question. So can you just make that clear? Regardless of what we do here, we still have to pay for them to operate. Otherwise, it has to be a motion to shut it down. Is that correct?
Not necessarily. If council provides this financial support and it is able to get back off the ground and start becoming more self-sustainable, as always intended as a subsidiary, no, it doesn't have to come back. But council currently provides a subsidy, and council always acknowledged that it would to some certain extent. And yes, currently financially it's going through some difficulties, but if it's able to recover from that, then it doesn't need to come back to council. But if it doesn't recover, yes, council ultimately has to make the decision of either dissolving the subsidiary or closing down the subsidiary or changing the subsidiary or making some other decision.
Okay, just to clarify. So regardless, the horse tram will continue to run irrespective of what we vote here today?
It would run, but it may run at a very reduced rate. It may not have its staffing, and it may not be able to operate to meet the needs of its customers.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry, I just need to clarify. This is very important here, because
I think the CEO has answered your, sorry.
No, I don't believe she has, and I'm asking for a clarification, if I may, please, Mayor. I wanted, the CEO alluded to the fact that it will continue to run, but potentially at a reduced rate, may not reach its targets, whatever. But that would still be a decision of the authority as to how much it runs, and correct? Its terms of reference will dictate how much it can and cannot run, and then they will give us a bill to cover those costs. That is the point of a section 42. It is at arm's length. It has its own bylaws, I guess, or its own rules. But because we are still have to pay, regardless of what we do here, it can decide to say, well, if you're not going to give us the money, we're going to continue to run, and this is what we have to pay. Correct?
Again, if you read their terms of reference, they've got some obligations set by this council, and it is trying to meet those obligations. Hence, it has come back to the council on numerous occasions stressing its financial difficulties. So ultimately, the subsidiary may decide to come back to the council and say it cannot operate if it doesn't give it these funds, or it could, it's already said it's tried to reduce. As I go back to the beginning, ultimately the subsidiary belongs to this council. It set it up to operate at arm's length and hopefully be able to become own source revenue reliant, but it hasn't, and so it's come back to council for more funds. But yes, you are correct. Council is responsible for the subsidiary.
Has that answered your question, Councillor Quaremba? Thank you. Councillor Schofield, you've spoken before. Have you got a question?
Can I just clarify something that Councillor Kemp made reference to within algae bloom and the summer?
If it's relevant to the recommendation, you can. If it's not relevant to the recommendation, then you might need to save your discussion for after the meeting.
After the meeting.
Thank you. Are there any more discussion points relating to recommendation 1? Councillor Mann, do you want to close the debate?
Yeah, thank you. Just first quick question of Kelly. Kelly, just from memory, the exact amount we previously budget for the horse tram each year, 360? Yeah, so
365.
365, thank you. So effectively for this year, we'll be giving nearly $650,000 to the horse tram to keep it operational. I think that it highlights the importance of it to our community, that, you know, elected members see the value in it and our community sees the value in it. But again, this is it's a piece of South Australian history. It's been running for over 130 years. And what we're simply saying to the government is help us help the horse tram to keep it running, to keep it the icon that it is for South Australia. Because there are those in the community who think councils shouldn't be spending money on this, that people think, you know, get back to roads, rates and rubbish. But then, you know, when you try and do that, you've got the state government saying, no, it's council's responsibility to run this tourist offering for the state. It's important to our state. And I hope as part of this motion and the motions to come, it will signal to the state government that we are serious about protecting it, but we want help. We want you to engage with us. We want you to leave the algal bloom aside, because there's been a number of issues across the years. We want you to partner with us to deliver it. And I think that's the call we're making to the state government. And we hope they listen to it and listen to the residents of South Australia.
Thank you. I'll now put that to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you. Councillor Mann, in reading your amendments that you want to add on, they're actually not amendments, but they are separate motions because they're
within the same agenda item.
They are within the same agenda item, but they are quite separate from the original motion.
Because you didn't want me to move them together with the original motion.
And since then I've been looking at them and they are quite separate. And that's one of the reasons I didn't want to move them with the original motion. I'm happy for you to move them, but not as amendments. I'll take them as separate motions.
Yeah, because we've just done the other one, so we can't amend it. It's gone through. So these will be just a separate one altogether.
Yep. But I'll just highlight, just be careful when you're doing amendments, because as separate motions, I will ask Kelly to provide some more context in relation to one, because that may have budget implications for the tram.
If I may address, I guess, your comment about amendments, Mayor Jenkins, what's put up by administration is purely recommendations. We can move our own motions however we see fit. They're just suggestions. So it's not amending. I guess it's putting up a motion within the context of the agenda item. But I appreciate about the budget, which is why I've sort of also sent these previously to Meg, the general manager, and also discussed them with Nigel Catt, the chair of the board as well, and he was supportive of them.
Sure. They were originally put up as amendments and are quite different. So I take your point that it's a recommendation, it's just a recommendation. However, an amendment needs to relate to the recommendation and not change it substantially. And we can have that discussion afterwards. I appreciate that you've been to Meg and Nigel Catt and talked to them about it, but it's also very important that the elected members have all of that information as well, so that they can make a decision that is in the best interests of everybody. So your first motion.
If I can move them all together, if that's all right.
I'm happy for you to move them all together.
Thank you.
Can I have them separate, please?
It's just the one.
If the mover wants to have them all together, they'll be all together.
So in terms of, I guess, these motions, it's around part of the first one's going really to thanking the community because it is a contribution.
Can I just wait until we get a seconder for it, Councillor Mann?
Sorry.
Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Quaremba, you're seconding the motions on 1, 2, 3 and 4 on block?
Can I know what the motions are, please? And could I please, can I suggest that this come to a motion on notice? Because if it has a budgetary implication and we're going on the word of one councillor's conversation with the Horse Tram Authority, it's fine to put that motion up, but maybe it should come back as a motion on notice, particularly for me, when you bring a complicated motion like that to the meeting, it's really hard for me to follow it.
I completely appreciate Councillor Schiller's points there, and I'm more than happy for this to come back as a motion on notice to the January council meeting.
Yep, great, thank you. You all right with that, to bring that as a motion on notice to the January council meeting? Thank you very much, done that. So let's move on to 14.1. We've just done that. So 14.1. So 15, there are no matters of urgency. There are no questions on notice. Are there any questions without notice? No. Motions on notice. Councillor Burns, motion on notice, independent consultant review. I'll just check. You want engage, the first part is engage SGL Consulting Group. So they're the people that did the Rec and Sport precinct.
Correct.
Okay, would you like to propose your motion? Thank you.
Sure. If I can just mention with point 3, to change that to March, because it was originally intended for November, and as it's come up to December, to still allow a 2-month review period, that needs to be changed to March. And 7, it should be SGL, not SQL. It's just a typo. And I'm happy to talk to it when you say I can.
Yep, if you've got a seconder to that, if you want to propose your motion and get a seconder, then you can talk to it.
Sure. So as per the motion, I'm proposing that we engage a independent consultant to undertake a review of the Horse and Tram Authority.
Sorry, can you read your motion as read?
Sure.
And specify the consulting group as you have indicated in your motion?
Sure. Engage SGL.
Councillor Schiller won't be able to read it, so it's important for you to read it properly.
Engage SGL Consulting Group, an independent firm based in Adelaide, who reviewed the proposed Victa Harbour Sporting Precinct business case to undertake a comprehensive review of the Victa Harbour Horse and Tram Business Authority, with the scope to include management operations and organisational efficiency, financial performance and sustainability, board governance, strategic direction and management strategies addressing current and emerging issues. 2, ensure the consultant is appointed externally and operates independently of council administration with direct reporting obligations to the elected members. 3, require the consultant's final report to be presented directly to elected members at the ordinary council meeting scheduled for, that should read, March 2026, allowing a 2-month review period. 4, note that the consultant's findings will inform future governance, operational and financial decisions regarding the Victa Harbour Horse and Tram Authority. 5, if supported, an additional recommendation below, this is put in by administration, approve an increase in the budget of $25,000 for the purpose of the independent review. And 7, approve an exemption from the procurement policy for the direct engagement of SGL Consulting Group.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for this? Councillor Quaremba? Stewart, Councillor Burns, do you want to speak to your motion?
Yes, please. Can I start now? Thank you. The Victa Harbour Horse and Tram Authority is an icon part of our community, but the authority has incurred significant losses over the past few years and is now in a situation requiring urgent financial help. It's our responsibility as elected members, as custodians of public funds and public trust, to help the authority get back on its feet. This motion is not about blame, it's about ensuring that the authority board and this chamber have the information needed to make sound decisions going forward. An external financial consultant brings something we cannot generate internally, genuine independence. An external independent review will provide an objective assessment free from legacy assumptions, internal pressures, and operational blind spots. That independence is essential if we want the community to have confidence in the findings. A full financial and operational review will help us identify where inefficiencies exist, where risks are emerging, and where improvements can be made. It gives the Authority Board a clear roadmap for strengthening governance, tightening financial controls, and improving operational performance. And it will give elected members the evidence base we need to make informed, responsible decisions about the future of this important community asset. Commissioning an independent review is not a large cost, and it's an investment in transparency, accountability, and long-term sustainability. It demonstrates to our community that we in this chamber take financial oversight seriously, and we're committed to ensure the horse and tram remains viable for generations to come. Remember that the Authority Board is made up of unpaid volunteers. They are trying hard to address their financial situation, and that is commendable. However, they need help. At the November workshop between elected members and the Authority Board confirmed that they were struggling to improve revenue gains and meeting their desired financial targets. They also acknowledged that they were struggling to apply the full extent of their desired marketing strategy due to resource and financial challenges. The Authority Board needs Council's immediate help, but they also need long-term assistance to be financially sustainable. The Authority Board asked for additional financial funds from Council to allow them to continue to operate, and I support that, but with conditions. The Authority Board has asked for the waiving of council charges and rent to help them survive, and I support that for a defined period of time with the expectation that the Authority Board demonstrate an improvement in their financial situation within the next 6 months, which the previous motion aligned with. That the Authority Board also asked for financial resource assistance.
Councillor Burns.
Sorry?
Your time is nearly up.
Okay, thank you. Where the Authority Board will get the maximum benefit is from engaging an independent and qualified external consultant. And as recommended in my motion, the Authority Board needs this assistance to retune their business model and strategies. The elected members need this independent assessment to ensure that the horse and tram is viable into 2026 and beyond, and reassure the community that we're providing a level of oversight required by the chamber. I hope all elected members will support my motion tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Burns. And Councillor Quaremba, you seconded this. Did you want to speak to it?
Thank you, Mayor. I think this is very important. Like we said, we're going to be tuning up for $600,000, over $500,000. I think we need to do our due diligence and potentially find some solutions that are outside of our thinking, and bringing in a independent body to actually come up with a report is in the long term is a welcomed investment, I believe.
Thank you, Councillor Quaremba. And does anybody want to speak to this? Councillor Henderson, Councillor Schofield, Councillor Schiller?
I think this would be a total waste of money. I'd rather see the potential budget allocation here spent on supporting the horse tram. We've already approved the horse tram's business plan and future plans. I've already in this chamber tonight outlined some of the reasons why they haven't managed to reach those goals. They still have the potential to reach those goals. And I just think this is throwing money away on a review that is totally unnecessary.
Councillor Schofield?
I guess out of everybody in this room and the board, I have more knowledge about the operations, the setting up of the Section 42 than anybody else. I must admit that when you actually stated 650,000 this year, that really scares the hell out of me. I don't think we're here to blame, we're here to help. And while I understand where Councillor Burns is coming from, having somebody in to have a look and pointing out perhaps where things can be changed, managed a little bit better, is a good thing. But then I also look at it, and again, I look at the cost factor of it, and I'm just wondering whether we as elected members can actually ask for information ourselves. And that is things like, so how many adults have run on the tram? How many children's tickets do we give out? Have a look at some of that finer detail that maybe because of the workload is being overlooked. I don't think just putting the horse tram coming in and trying to put up their prices is going to overcome anything. As a business person, what they will do may improve your revenue, but it's not going to increase your sales. And sometimes you're better off for sales than sit for a high price. Algae bloom came up earlier. Horse tram was actually closed this week because of algae bloom. So that's not going to go away. So the tram is going to be, if it's sitting there now and it's going to come back, over the summer months where our expectations are to get some really good revenue, we're going to find that the number of horses we have, the algae bloom, will still be there because it's something that we can't just wipe away, and we can't just pick up a horse from out of a paddock and immediately put it on the tram. So there are some things that the board, although we would like to, and I'd wear two hats, while we would really like to be able to say we can fix it, it's Mother Nature. And if you're off the land, you will understand what I'm talking about. It's a Pandora's box. And that is what the board have. But yes, I'd like to see, and I'd like the board to delve in a little bit more so that they can give us some information. And I think that may be the better way to go, that we talk, have another workshop, work out exactly what we as council want, and then talk to the board and see whether we can get that information to make the decisions.
Thank you, Councillor Schofield. Councillor Schiller.
We've just made a decision to add Kelly to the look at their finances and look at their governance. So I think we need to let that process take place first. I think they're going to have to be very creative with their marketing if the algal bloom continues to be a problem into the future, and then they maybe were relying on things like the VIP experience. So I think they need to be seeing more help in their marketing maybe, and I don't discount an independent review in the future, but they've come along and they've stated that they are going to put in place a long-term financial plan and have a more frequent reviewing and looking at their figures. So until we give them the chance to improve at least over the next 6 months, I don't think we can support this right now, but it's not out of the question in the future.
Councillor Quaremba, you have a question.
Thank you, Mayor. Could this report be seen as part of the process of potentially then going into a co-funding model with the government? Because I know they have stated in the advertiser that this is a council issue and we have to cover it no matter what. But if we have an independent review that basically says that potentially it may be a council ownership, but there is also a stake for state government, an independent review may be then used as leverage to actually then go into a co-funding model, which I think is the only way this is going to continue or succeed into the future. So my question is, can this be seen as a requirement moving forward?
In my opinion, it wouldn't, because I think that this recommendation takes administration completely out of the picture, and administration often are the ones that are talking to government about these things. It also asks us to engage a specific consulting group, which I don't know the consulting group was very good in terms of doing a business case for the basketball stadium. I don't know what they're like in terms of financial performance and sustainability, board governance, strategic direction, management strategies for a horse-drawn tram. But it also removes us from going to using the procurement policy to engage somebody who might do that. So I think that from my perspective, there are a number of problems with using this recommendation as a strategic way forward with the state government because of those things, and the state government would look at that, and I don't think would be very happy.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but my question was, would this be seen as something that's arm's length away from the administration? They've already said no to us, but if we go to them with a report saying, look, this is an independent party that's found these findings, and use that as a tool to leverage government.
I'm sure they'd look at an independent report and they'd look at where it's coming from and how it was, they'd look at the governance in terms of how we obtained an independent report. But perhaps you'd like to expand on that, Victoria.
I guess any information is available. There is already an independent report that was done by the council that looked at different governance and operating models. Hence, the council chose to do the subsidiary that it did. That is available. We can share that with the government now, even.
Do that on Thursday. You want to speak, Councillor Mann?
Thank you, Mayor Jenkins. Yeah, no, I have to really commend Councillor Burns for his, I guess, passion and drive for wanting to see the best out of the horse tram. I think in terms of the meetings that he's helped arrange and part of, I guess, a group that led to bringing together the horse tram authority and the council and the audit committee. And I think from that workshop, which was only 2 weeks ago, there was a lot of information provided and discussed. There was a lot of solutions raised. I think Councillor Burns also had several pages of thoughts and ideas and as potential solutions. And I know as recently as just Monday, last Monday, the Horse Tram Authority met as a board to look through all his suggestions and look through all the feedback, and there's a lot of work going into it, and with the funding it will definitely provide a significant benefit for them, because what we heard from them amongst other things was that they've had no money to spend on marketing, and so they can't get people there because they can't market, and it's just a terrible cycle. And so what we're trying to do is help them out of that cycle. I think I probably concur with Councillor Schiller's points around, I don't think an independent review is needed at this stage. I think the money we're already putting in, a significant amount, is better well spent by the board on their marketing, on trying those things that we've already identified and those known problems. Potentially down the track, it might be something worth considering. But I appreciate all the work Councillor Burns has put into this and the thought behind it. And I think that intent is really important and valuable. And I think what we can do as a council and administration in these negotiations and discussions with the state government is say that this isn't just about the algal bloom. This is about the future of the horse tram going forward. And hopefully we can come to some agreement with them. And I look forward to hearing how the discussions on Thursday go.
Thank you. Councillor Kemp, and then Councillor Burns can close the debate.
Certainly listen to all the conversations around the room about the twos and goes. I think, personally myself, I think this is a good opportunity for a number of reasons, because in agenda item 14.1, it's stated there that, there have been financial problems for the last several years. So to me, that rings alarm bells, because something's not quite right. I understand Mother Nature aspects of what goes on. And of course, if you have a good business model, a flexible business model, you should be able to work around those types of things, whether you change the way you go or you reduce, whatever you do, but you've got to have a flexible business model. So I think this proposal is looking at maybe tweaking the current business model and looking at it and trying to improve it, not to find blame or anything like that, is to look at it and say, well, with open eyes, independent eyes, and say, look, maybe you could do these number of recommendations that may improve, what going forward, that type of thing. So I think this could be money well spent, considering that, of their financial situation. We have endorsed their, the extra money for them to get through this 25-26 financial year. So I think this will just be, again, an opportunity for them to have a good look at it as well, and see where the review would take us and where it would actually could improve and make the more the Horse Tram Authority more sustainable and more of a solid icon instead of having all these different issues they're facing all the time.
Thank you, Councillor Kemp. Councillor Burns, do you want to close the debate?
Thank you, Mayor. 2 points, if I may. Councillor Schofield raised a very good point, and I would love if that was allowed, but unfortunately as elected members, we're quite constrained with getting involved in operational side. We have a operational risk governance oversight, but that is different from directing or getting involved in the level of detail that I'm sure a number of elected members would love to assist. A consultant would provide all that really information to the board. It came obvious to me at the November workshop that the board, besides needing money, were limited in some of the ways they could address the challenges they have, and a consultant will provide them with independent, no blame, free advice for a fee on what the opportunities are and what they can do. And then the board are actually have a lot more information than they have now, and they are able to then act on that and hopefully turn the business around more quickly than if they're trying to struggle through. The last thing I want to see is come June next year, we get the Horse and Tram Authority coming back saying, well, that didn't work and we need more money, or something else has occurred. I think what they need more than anything, they need money right now, but they also need good advice to help them understand all the options that are available. And that's what I believe a consultant would do. It's not there to blame them, it's to help them be successful. And I think by allowing them to keep doing the same is basically not assisting them to the level that we could. We're limited in what we can do. They've got limited experience in how fixing things. By getting a third party in that can actually assist them, to me is quite valuable. And I think it will actually really aid them. And I think it will actually help them turn the business around a lot quicker than if they try to struggle themselves.
Thank you. That closes the debate. I now put the motion to the floor. All those in favour? Those against? We do that again, please. All those in favour of the recommendation and those against? That recommendation is lost.
Please.
All those in favour? Councillor Burns, Councillor Quaremba and Councillor Kemp. Those against, Councillor Mann, Councillor McKenzie, Councillor Schiller, Councillor Quinton, Councillor Schofield and Councillor Henderson. That motion is lost. We now move to 18.2, motion on notice, leave of absence, Councillor Quaremba. Councillor Quaremba, do you want to propose your motion?
Thank you, Mayor. My motion is as follows. The council formally note that A, I have been selected as a candidate for the South Australian Legislative Council in the upcoming state election, March 2026. B, grant formal leave of absence for myself from all council duties, including ordinary meetings, special council meetings, briefing sessions and other council official engagements for the period commencing the 16th of December through to the 24th of March 2026. C, note that shall I be successful in being elected, that I'll be required to resign my position as councillor for the City of Victa Harbour as required under the State South Australian Electoral Act and Local Government Act. D, note that should I not be successful in my bid for election, I shall intend to resume my duties as councillor for the City of Victa Harbour from March 24. And D, that I seek no remuneration during the period of leave.
Thank you. Do I have a second for that motion? Thank you, Councillor Burns. Does anybody want to speak to the motion? Councillor Mann?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Jenkins. Yeah, no, I just want to, I guess, thank Councillor Quaremba for his service to the City of Victa Harbour and wish him well with his endeavours in higher office. It's anyone who puts their hand up to be involved in local government takes on a big sacrifice to serve their community, and I just want to acknowledge that and thank him for that service. If he doesn't come back, and this might be his last meeting, so thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Put that to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. And we wish you best of luck, Councillor Quaremba, if you're able to go into the state government. And the Victa Harbour Council's been a good training ground for you, and we're happy to have assisted you along the way. So best of luck. We now move to 18.3, which is motion on notice, traffic strategy investigation. Councillor Schiller. And Councillor Schiller, would you like to move your motion?
As you see in the email that came through after I've had discussions with Victoria, and I've also had discussions with Graham. I would like to put the alternate motion that was emailed through to people. So if I would ask either the CEO or Moira to read the motion for me, please. And so, I'm happy to do it en bloc if.
Oh, that's been amended. You could do it if you want to.
The motion is that council requests the administration to 1, within 25-26 financial year resources, commence a traffic and transport investigation and analysis report as phase 1 of a comprehensive traffic and transport strategy for the City of Victa Harbour, ensuring the scope for the overall strategy includes, but is not limited to, A, assessment of future traffic impacts arising from projected growth, B, identification and prioritisation of intersection upgrades, C, review of pedestrian access and pedestrian safety improvements, D, review of existing speed limits and potential future adjustments, E, investigation of potential new road infrastructure required to support future demand, F, collate and present data to support and advocate for upgrades to state-managed roads within Victa Harbour and transport corridors linking surrounding regions, including B-double access. 2, prepare costings for phase 2 completion of the comprehensive traffic and transport strategy for the City of Victa Harbour to be considered as a budget bid for the 26-27 financial year. And 3, ensure that the investigation and costings drawn upon align with the City of Victa Harbour urban growth management strategy, including its growth projections, land use direction and infrastructure implications.
Do I have somebody to second that motion? Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Councillor Schiller, do you want to speak to your motion?
Thank you. When I first put this motion together, I was focusing mainly on a traffic strategy, but since consulting with Victoria and Graham, by broadening this to transport, we're taking in things like how the bus network might look in the future. We are growing, and although we would probably like to contain that growth a lot more than what we have power over, we are growing. And to give a bit of an example, if we had an example of our lowest possible dwellings, which is 185 dwellings per year being built, and our census records show that homes usually have 1.6 cars, which is one car cut in half. But so looking at that very low growth figure, we're going to have 300 cars potentially per year coming into as our residents. If we look at the mid-level growth figure of, say, 300 dwellings, then we have 480 cars per year coming in as residents. And then if we look at the higher growth figure that the GARP continues to tout, which is 400 dwellings per year, that's more like 640 cars per year coming into our township. That's going to see more and more congestion. We also have had a few motions come to council, and at times people have looked at those motions and questioned whether they may be ad hoc. By having a strategy, looking at every component, every intersection that exists now and future intersections and future traffic increase, we have a more, basically something to back the information and whether that recommendation or direction should proceed at that time. We need to look at every aspect of our transport and traffic, from someone who's walking to basically our trucks and our freight transport. So by putting this all together, we're taking every single transport need into account. So I just implore people to support this, because I think that this is going to catch up with us a lot quicker than what we think if we don't start to have a strategy to resolve these things well before it becomes a problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Schiller. Councillor Henderson, did you want to speak to this?
Not directly, but I have a question relating to this. Do we know where the state government is sitting with their plan for the freight transport corridor for the Fleurieu region? Do we know where that has got to?
They're sitting with it.
If anywhere.
They're sitting with it. It's
through the mayor. It's identified on the GARP, but there's nothing. Obviously, this council's advocating, Southern Hills is advocating, RDA is advocating. It is recognised, but nothing progressed at this stage.
Does anybody else want to speak to this? Councillor Kemp, Councillor Burns?
Just a question maybe towards Angela about including car parking as part of the strategy with movement of vehicles, with car parking as a major issue. If we're going to have all these cars extra into the city, where are they going to park? Because we have got on our agenda item, sometime in the future about a multi-deck car park, but that's a few years away yet. So I'm just wondering whether you want to include car parking as part of your strategy.
I haven't. I've put the things that I've can identify, and as I keep talking to staff and other council members, there certainly can be broad, and because the way the recommendation is written, it's not limiting it to the things that I've pointed out. So I can't, unless administration can give a glowing reason why that can't be added, or whether it needs to even be added at this point in time. But I can't see that is a problem, but I will let the administration answer that.
If it needs to be added, administration can do it. I don't think it needs further notice, but just if you can include car parking in that. Councillor Burns?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a question. Does council has a traffic management policy strategy already? Does that replace that, or does that impact that? I mean, I'm agreeing with Angela in that I think this is needed. We were going to review the traffic management policy anyway.
Yeah. I might ask Graham to respond to that.
Through the Mayor, Council has a city traffic movement strategy hooked in with a parking strategy. In fact, that's the document that it has. Part of this project would certainly be to review those strategies for usefulness still in the context of changes, and then marry whatever that might be into a broader city strategy, covering both traffic and transport, and potentially car parking as well, of course. Yep.
Thank you for that. I like how it's broader than just traffic.
Thank you. Councillor Mann.
Thank you, Mayor Jenkins. Yeah, no, I just want to commend Councillor Schiller on this. I think it's an excellent motion and strategy that we really need to look at. And I think taking her point about the dwellings and the numbers, I think the Greater Adelaide Regional Plan, the state government were wanting us to have, I think it was about 12,000 new dwellings in the next 25 years, which at 1.6 cars is over 19,000 new cars in Victa Harbour in the next 25 years. I think, it'd be interesting to see whether it just, the strategy says we need to make the whole town a one-way street and you just do laps until you get around it. But I think it's definitely important. It definitely will be able to feed into a lot of our other strategies and our future goals. But yeah, happy to support this one.
Thank you. If there's no further discussion, I'll hand back to Councillor Schiller. Do you want to wrap it up, Councillor Schiller?
Not much more to add, but also bearing in mind those figures for our traffic, because we are making this broader into transport. Hopefully in the future we can get greater public transport, and that can take the load off of our road system too, because at the moment our public transport is below par. Sometimes I'm waiting an hour for a taxi, and that's hard to be an efficient part of the community when you're relying on other people to get yourself around. So thanks.
Thank you. I'll now put that to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. We now move into confidential items, and the first, motions without notice. I missed that page. Are there any motions without notice? No. We now move into confidential items, and the first recommendation is that we go into confidence because the information to be received, discussed and considered in relation to this agenda item is information relating to a proposed award recipient before the presentation of the award. Moving that way, Councillor Burns, and seconding that, Councillor McKenzie. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, gallery. You can have an early night.